So this is the first test of the Chris Apodaca custom knife that we're going to show you. And basically one of the first tests that I like to put any knife through is I like to put it through a basic and very simple kitchen test. So what we're going to do here is I have some potatoes and I have an onion. It's breakfast time. I'm going to get ready to cook some breakfast, and we're going to use this knife to do our prep work with. And any time that you want to test a knife, and in my opinion, one of the best benchmark tests that you can put it to is to use it in the kitchen to do basic remedial kitchen tasks. So what I'm going to do here is, as you all know, I only have one hand that works to do this. So I'm going to cut up some potatoes to make some breakfast potatoes, and we will see how this goes. So far so good. I really like the fact that it rolls. You can roll it from tip back like a chef's knife. Makes a really good, clean, precise cut. Yeah, I like that. What we're going to do here is dice up these potatoes, and I will use the other hand a little to hold them in place. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Like I said, I'm operating the camera myself and doing this. It may help here if I flip the light on. During the daylight, I like to, the daytime, I'm a big advocate of conserving as much energy as you can, and being as energy efficient as you can be. And in the daytime, I would call it a bad habit. I would call it a good habit. Some people call it a bad habit. But I have a habit of not running lights when I can use window light. And we, many times, will leave the lights off until nighttime in most cases because of that. There you go. So far, so good. I'm thoroughly impressed. Now, cut these like this, and then we'll turn them and put a hold on there and do some dice work. As a rule of thumb, guys, if your knife is not capable of doing very basic remedial kitchen tasks, my opinion, once again, my opinion, it's not going to perform in the woods, and it's not going to be put up to the performance of the woods. Now, I'm not going to cut up all these potatoes on camera for you today, but I am going to cut this one potato, and I'm going to cut the onion. But yeah, guys, this knife is very well balanced for this job and this task. As you can see, the proper use of a chef's knife, tip goes down and you roll it. You can see this knife is very well suited for that type of task. So I give that an A+ for that particular task. The grip and the handle is weighted well, so you have a good balance. Has a really good action to it. Anybody else would already be done with this. I know you guys can say whatever you want to for my form, but I do what I can. Now, so we cut up a potato. Let's do this onion. So, first thing on an onion is I'm going to cut the end. Then I always flip it over. People have different methods for cutting onion. I just cut it. There's no secret. Just get it done. And I've heard people say leave the bottom part on because that's where all the odor comes from and blah blah blah. I've only found one thing that really works to reducing the scent of the onion when you cut it. The only thing I found that works on that is to put the onion in the freezer. And you can put it in the freezer for about 15-20 minutes before you're going to cut it up. And the juices in the onion will solidify. Now, it doesn't make it impossible to cut or hard to cut. The juices just solidify some. What that ends up doing is making it to where it doesn't produce that, what a lot of people would call the stank of an onion. So, let's take the knife and we're going to go straight down the middle. Flip it over. Straight down, straight down. Now, I will tell you, seeing how well balanced this is and well proportioned this knife is to do the kitchen tasks, and how good that it performs, being what Chris called a bushcraft / a field knife, or even a knife that would be used for animal processing. Makes me really interested to see what he would come up with in the realm of a kitchen knife. Now, I have a really good friend that is a good knife maker. Actually, good is not enough to describe it. He's an excellent knife maker. And I won't call his name here, but he says that making full-tang knives takes all the fun out of it. Now, understand, we're friends, and we rib each other about this. I'm a bushcrafter at heart. That's what I do. And I like full-tang knives. But he makes kitchen knives and makes them with hidden tangs, and they perform excellently. They're great for what they're used for. And even some of the knives that he makes, you know, for field use knives, they're great knives. Not putting them down in any way. But I just like a full-tang knife, guys. I think it adds a little bit better to the balance of the knife, having that full piece of metal. So, as you can see there, guys, that thing went through that onion like it was nobody's business. Look at that. Perfect coarse chop for that onion. We got the onion, got a little onion skin in the bowl there. We got the onion diced up. Overall, my initial impression with the kitchen test, I would say that general cutting capabilities, as far as prep, task, camp prep, things of that nature, I give it an A+. I think the symmetry of the knife allows for a grip that really allows it to make and fulfill that chef knife role. And what you'll find is that, especially in the frontier type settings and frontier days, the knives that they would carry would be in the shape of either a butcher or a chef's knife. And this knife really does lend to that chef knife type shape and belly and design. The beefiness of the belly allows you to push it all the way through big vegetables and still be able to push down on the tine. So I really like the fact of how that is. And I'll tell you this. Alright guys, so we've been using the Chris Apodaca Custom this morning to do a little prep work for breakfast, and I just wanted to show you. Very impressed with the heat treat on this knife. Very impressed with the belly and the function in the kitchen. As you can see, I've got some potatoes here, doing a few little breakfast potatoes for breakfast time. And so far, this thing is a beast. It's going through them and working really well. I love the fact that the chef's knife rocking motion just works tremendous with this knife. The way it's designed, it's great, you know, in camp to have a knife that is multifaceted, that's multi-utility. You want to be able to use it, and I always say that the benchmark of a knife, and one way that you can really learn a knife and get used to using it, if it's one that you're going to carry, is use it in the kitchen. Do your kitchen work with it. And if it'll stand up to the kitchen work and it'll do the kitchen work, then, you know, that ought to be your first benchmark before you go take it and beat it and drive it through a log. But which we're going to do with this one as well once the monsoon season is over here. But so far, so good. I know Chris had some edge concerns with the heat treat on the knife. I'm pressing that into that cutting board. There is no roll on the edge at all. I don't think you have any trouble there whatsoever, Chris. In that edge, it flexes and springs back, and I don't see any problem there whatsoever. But that is test number one. As you can see here, we have a whole bowl of onion, potatoes, and I've got another little snippet of video that I broke off there, and I'll add that in here too. But we've got onions, potatoes. We're going to do our breakfast and prepare the whole thing with this particular blade. And this is just the first in a series of tests that I'm going to do on this blade. One of the next ones that's coming up is I'm going to do a wet test on it. I'm going to water it down and see how the grip traction and everything goes when it's wet, which obviously emulates real world outdoor situations that you would encounter. You want to know how it handles, you know, when it's wet. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do some work with it wet, and maybe some carving or something, and we'll get that on film for you guys too. Now Chris, when you're watching this, I just want you to know, buddy, this is not the beating part. This is the utility part of my testing exam. The beating comes later. But if it makes you happy, so far you're passing with flying colors, buddy. Yeah. I'm really digging it. There are certain knife reviewers that would say you can't objectively review a knife that is made by a friend. I disagree. I've had knives that were made by friends that I've been critical of in the past, and I would do it again. Now Chris has done just some beautiful work in the last little bit. If you guys are on Knife Obsession, which you probably are if you're watching this video, then you know Chris. You've seen some of the work that he does, and you know the kind of stuff that he puts out. It's quality. Definitely bulletproof. One more little potato here. My son is being fairly good and is allowing me to do this, and I appreciate him doing that for me. As you all know, if you've ever seen an episode of Knife Obsession TV, he is the chief photo bomber. So we cut this way, turn it, cut. We're going to see, after being ground into this board, what the edge retention is like as well on this knife. Now when I got it out of the box, it would zip through a piece of paper and was absolutely hair shaving sharp out of the box. And this is the first real cutting, other than maybe a couple little pieces of rope that I cut the other day with it. This is the first real cutting tasks that I've really tried it on. So we'll see, after going into the cutting board repeatedly, how this edge retention holds up. This cutting board is laminated bamboo, and it's hard as a brick. So guys, I'm impressed. All right, we'll be back to you in just a little bit with a little more. Alright, so we're going to continue testing with a chop and a baton test. So what I've done, I've cut a piece of hardwood off, and I'm going to chop it right below this V. We're going to see how long it takes me to chop through it with this knife. Then after the chop test, we're going to do a baton test on this piece of wood and see how long it takes us to baton through it with the Chris Apodaca Custom. So here we go. The knife's control and balance do not lend very well for chopping, guys. It by no means is an Ontario SP10 Marine Raider. But this is a very dry piece of hardwood, an elm. For the size, not bad. The size of this knife, it's not made to chop with. and it's not really made to do that task. But the reason I put it through this paste is to see that the knife will do that task and that it can accomplish that task. So even though it's not lent to chopping and it's not a good size as a chopper, I have to say, not bad on that piece of hardwood. We'll be right back with you guys. We're going to do a little baton work.
Can I wave at him?
Alright, so we're back. We're going to do a baton test. I've got my #1 knife reviewing partner here with me today. And he wanted to pop in and watch, and he's going to watch and help me review the knife. And Dad's going to help him open his water here. There you go, lid's loose. And scoot back just a little bit, okay? Because I don't want to hit you. Gotta be safe. Look, if my baton can touch you, then I can hit you. So you need to move back more. Move back there next to the camera. You're going to stir your water? Next to the camera. There you go, buddy. Alright, so we have this piece of hardwood that we chopped. What we're going to do now is I'm going to set this knife in the top, and we're going to try to baton through this hardwood. Don't push any buttons.
I'm not there, I'm just looking.
Got the knife started in the wood. Not bad. Now, the argument's made a lot of times, why would you baton with a knife? Well, I prefer an axe to do this work. But there's some carving tasks that I know of, especially when it comes to making a bow drill fire, things of that nature. To me, it's easier to do with a knife and batoning because of the issue of control. This one. This knife is handling batoning through this hardwood like a champ. Split it again. Look at there. I don't have anything negative to say about the batoning capability of this blade. Absolutely batons like a boss, guys. There's nothing I can say negative about the baton capability of this blade. Chris did an excellent job in that. And let's see about the fine splitting. Not bad. How about fine carving capabilities? Are we good there, cameraman?
Yep.
Okay. Fine carving. Oh yeah. Now this wood is still very, very wet. So as you can see, I'm just shaving down the high spots. Now guys, granted that my form and my techniques are going to be different than what you see a lot of guys use and what you see in a lot of other places. That's simply because of my injuries I've had to adapt a lot of my techniques.
Dad?
Yeah.
Camera News has some think that your battery's low.
My battery's low? Okay. Daddy will fix it. Thank you for telling me. But I've learned in time that there's a lot of ways to supplement your form and make adjustments with that. And overall, I think that Chris has done a fine job with the strength as far as me being able to beat on this knife and baton with it. I'm confident. There we go. I'm confident in the knife's capability to handle it and to take it. And to handle ripping through the hardwood. We'll be back, guys. We're going to do a ferro rod test and a flint strike test.
You need to charge your battery up. Look.
So what we're doing here is we're working on a little fire prep work to get the get a fire built. We're going to build a little fire using the Chris Apodaca knife. And one of the things that I want to do is a week or so ago I stepped on my char tin and I crushed it. So I need to make a new char tin. I'm going to use an Altoids tin to do that with. What I've got in this Altoids tin simply is just some cotton cloth that I've stuffed down in there. So we're going to seal that. What I'm going to do with Chris's knife here is I'm going to take the knife, I'm going to poke a hole in the top of this tin, just ever so slightly. Jackson, don't shake the camera, okay? Jackson, can you hand me that baton laying right there?
Thank you.
And that, oh, you okay?
Yeah.
Had a little trouble, stepped in a hole there.
Gotta watch out for them holes.
Grab that tin.
Tell you that.
Them holes will get you, won't they, buddy? Here you go. And that baton right there. Jay, hand me that baton. Right there.
That?
Yeah. Now, all we're going to do in making this tin is I'm going to take this knife, stand it on in, right there in the center, and we're barely going to tap this tin until there is a slight perforation. I don't know if y'all can see what I've done there. I've just put a very small hole in the center of that tin. And what that is for is to let oxygen out, because when you make char cloth, basically what you're doing is you're burning the cloth with the absence of oxygen. I'm not here to show you how to make char cloth, but I mean, because there's millions of videos about making char cloth, but that is the start of that. Now I'm just going to take this for now, and I'm going to put these aside. This is a box that I keep flint in. I've got several pieces of flint in that box, which we're going to use to test with there in a little bit. Now, what we're doing in the meantime is I'm going to build a fire, and I'm going to use Chris's knife. I'm going to show you it at work. We're going to hit the ferro rod with it. We're going to start the fire with the ferro rod with Chris's knife, and if we're successful, you know, we should get a fire here in just a little bit with this knife. So first test that I want to do it to, I've got here just a few little pieces of fat wood. I'm going to take this fat wood and we're going to shave some fat wood down for a fire. So let's do that now. Yeah, bud. So apparently my cameraman has a secret identity, and
I just waved at him.
he's very much a superhero that has taken up an interest in bushcraft lately. And superhero cameraman with a secret identity, what is your favorite part about bushcraft?
Pretty much, my favorite bushcraft activity is building a fire.
Yeah, and what do you like second, besides building a fire?
I've never done it, but I would like to go camping.
You'd like to go camping. Well,
Warm day.
we're going to remedy that very soon.
So that was a good call for camping.
Very good call. I think you make an excellent camper. So what I'm going to do, I've decided here, is try to catch these, because this thing is not shaving. For whatever reason, it's not shaving as good as I expected that it would. I thought it would shave a lot better than what it is, and it is not. So let's try again. So what I'm going to try to do is to shave down into a... Are we still recording, Jay?
Thanks.
Are we still recording, Jay?
Yeah, still recording.
Okay. I'm going to try to shave down into this Altoids tin and catch the shavings in the Altoids tin as much as possible. Oh, sorry, buddy.
Oh. Well,
They won't tell.
Well, only who you're sending it to can know, okay? Or did you say cameraman? Did you say cameraman?
No, I said Jackson.
Ah, you did it again! We'll only send this to one person that can know. Why don't you send this to Jamie Burley? Only he can know.
To Jamie Burley?
Yeah.
You're just throwing names. You're name dropping.
Well, only he can know.
You're just saying that because I just got off the phone with him.
Well, but the only one I pretty much know. It's who you always talk about.
It's who Daddy talks to
All the
a
time.
lot. Yeah.
I guess I can show my face now.
Mm-hmm. If you want to.
Okay, I'll show my face.
So, once you find the angle to set this on, it will spoke shave fat wood decently. Once you find the right angle to set it on to shave with, we're gonna push that off, and I've got just a little stick here. What I'm doing is just collecting all this shavings of fat wood down here. We're gonna make a little pile right in the middle of a tinder bundle that I've got prepped over here, and that's how we're going to start our fire, hopefully, if we're successful. And I got no lies to tell, guys. You know, I've done bow drill fires, I've done flint and steel fires, I've done ferro rod fires, and I failed at all of them at some point in time or another. So, and that's not to say that I won't fail again.
Y'all, I will tell you, my first favorite thing about bushcrafting, by thinking bushcrafting, is fishing.
Yeah. We've done a little fishing. Jackson. Yeah, let's go get his renewed. Jackson this last year got
very, very close to a big fish when we were fishing. And him and his mom could see it very, very close up to probably about a 10-pound bass. And from where I was sitting, I was up on the pier, and it hit the bluegill that I was reeling in. I was reeling in a bluegill. That big bass hit that bluegill while I was reeling it in, and they got to watch that. That was pretty cool, wasn't it, Jackson?
Mm-hmm. We also one time saw a sea turtle.
Yeah, we saw a place where we go fish is off of a public pier. Great place to take kids pier fishing, and it is absolutely overran with turtles. And we saw several big turtles in there while we were there. Make sure we're still recording.
Yep, still recording.
All right, don't shake the tripod.
Three, two, one, go.
All right, guys. So, got my fire lay build here, and like I said, this video is not about building the fire, but I didn't just want to go through the motions of prepping it. I am actually going to build one, and so what I've got, Jackson, will you hand me that box down there that's got the shavings in it, please?
That one?
Yes, please.
That
one. So what I've got here is I've got a prepared tender bundle that we have set up, and I've got, don't open it, don't spill them. I've got a prepared tender bundle, and I've got some fat wood that is in there that I've cut down into some feather sticks. We are going to try to get this tender bundle ignited. Yeah, it's fine. We're going to try to get this tender bundle ignited and get it in the fire, and we're going to try to get flames using the this is actually the Tennessee Outdoor Products ferro rod, which some of y'all have seen in my other videos. This is my ferro rod that we're going to use, and I'm going to strike it with Chris's knife, and we're going to see what kind of sparks we can get and get this fire going. So what I've done here, we're going to take our Altoids tin that we've used to collect, and I've got a worked up, prepared little bird's nest here made out of red cedar bark mostly, and I've got fat wood shavings. I'm just going to dump those fat wood shavings right in the middle and kind of press those down right there in the middle. And the way I like to do this is hold the knife in my hand, and I always brace against something and hold the ferro rod in the other. Chris and this thing is not throwing a good spark, and I don't know if it's where the spine is not rounded as it should be, but I'm not getting the sparks that I normally get off of this rod. This rod is a vicious rod when it comes to throwing sparks normally. And it's not throwing the way I like it to.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Set up my chair when you leave, but call me when the fire is set up. Okay?
Okay. what we're going to do is feed that right down into our fat wood, which will catch fire. We don't want to smother it. Okay, so with a little bit of coercion there,
Brandon, you okay?
mm-hmm.
You don't have a hard time getting up from there?
Nah.
Jason said he was in here, but we wasn't very long. When is she supposed to be home?
No idea, but I'm recording right now. Alright guys, so with the Chris Apodaca knife, I had to use the blade, which is harder on the ferro rod, it's harder on the blade, but I was able to affect fire with all natural tinder sources, which is very important for a bushcraft knife. Anybody who knows how important that can be. So it gets, in my opinion on that, it gets, for wood processing and stuff like that, you know, it's a good knife, but for the spine, Chris, you need to sharpen that spine, man. For me. Now, Larry, your mileage may vary a little bit, but and any of you guys' opinion and mileage may vary on this. I prefer the spine a little bit sharper. That's just me. But I was able to make successfully a fire doing that.